This is Bennett, the Great American Broadcast Network, now in its 8th year of talk like you've never heard it before.
This is the Ramble. It's in yellow, and I'm Alex, and we'll be here until midnight tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, it's fun time with Stephen Kravitz, Fun Master. Tell us a joke, Steve.
Two Jews walk into a bar,
You know, that was the one I was thinking of.
and they buy it.
They buy it. Isn't that funny? As I said that, tell us a joke, Steve, I was thinking in my mind, two Jews walk into a bar and buy it.
Oh, really?
And then you told the joke.
That's right.
That must be the most common joke that you would say if you said to somebody, tell me a joke. But that's something, you probably get that a lot.
Yeah.
They think that you must know jokes.
And I don't.
And I don't. I can't remember jokes. I mean,
No,
I can
you-
remember a funny one, and I can then repeat it for about a day, and then ask me a week later, and I can't remember the joke.
Right. I'm the same way.
I've never been much for jokes.
No.
You know, jokes are one-liners, folks, that... How do we describe a joke as opposed to a comedian telling a joke in his act? It's different.
Jokes are like, take my wife, please.
Well, that's part of an act. I'm talking about actual jokes like, once upon a time there was a princess.
Oh,
You want me to tell you that story about that joke? It's the first joke I ever learned.
okay, tell me.
Princess is walking through the woods one day, and she happens upon a frog. And the frog looks up and says, "Hi, princess." And she says, "You can talk?" He says, "Yes." He says, "Of course I can. I'm a talking frog." "Well, why are you a talking frog?" "Well, I was enchanted by this witch several years ago. I was a handsome prince. But I can outdo that curse, get rid of that curse, whatever the curse, if a woman will just spend the night with me." And so she says, okay, I can do that. So she picks up the frog and she takes him home, puts him in a bedroom. That night when she goes to sleep, she puts him on the pillow beside her.
Right.
Okay. And when she wakes up in the morning, there's a handsome prince. And do you know to this day her parents don't believe the story? Now, that was a joke taught to me by my father, who then would bring me out to a party of his friends and say, "Tell the joke."
Right.
You know, and I never understood the punchline till I got older.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Well, you wouldn't as a kid.
yeah, but that was the first joke I ever learned. And it was taught to me by my father as a party trick. So you can see how my upbringing was.
Yeah, there you go.
You know. Well, how about, do you remember your first joke you ever learned? It's got to be something silly because you're a kid, right?
There's a priest, a minister, and a rabbi.
Yeah.
And they're all talking one day, and they're saying, how do you decide what money goes to the church, what money goes to your salary? And the priest says, well, I go outside, I draw a circle on the ground, I throw the money up in the air, everything that lands inside the circle is mine, everything that lands outside the circle is the church's. And the minister says, well, I do something the same thing. I go outside, I draw a circle on the ground, I throw the money up in the air, everything that lands inside the circle goes to the church, and everything that lands outside the circle goes to me.
Mm-hmm.
And the rabbi says, I do something the same, very similar. I go outside, I throw the money up in the air, everything he wants he takes while it's up there, everything that hits the ground is mine.
That was the first joke you ever remember?
Well, that's the first joke I remember.
Yeah. Wow. What age were you when you heard that joke?
I was probably a teenager.
Wow. That's amazing. That is amazing. Because I learned mine, I would say, when I was 5 years old, 6 years old.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And but I was never much for jokes, you know.
No, me neither.
And people go, I'm going to tell you a joke. Oh, okay. And then they tell you the joke, and they've got no timing whatsoever.
Right.
And they're constantly screwing up the. Well, wait a minute, hold on. And he goes into the bar. The Jew goes into the bar.
Right.
Right. Now, I do have a couple of, there are a couple of jokes in my mind that stand out because, I don't know, I guess I just enjoyed them.
Okay, what are they? Tell me one.
The one joke I heard, I remember this was on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, and I can't remember who told it, but it's a brilliant joke. A guy goes into a bar with his dog, and he said, "I've got a talking dog here." And the bartender says, "Sure, you got a talking dog." He says, "No, really." He says, "If I can get this dog to talk, will you give me a free drink?" And the bartender says, "Of course, if you can get that dog to talk, I'll give you a free drink." So the guy goes to the dog, "Tell him what is it that we have on top of our house?" And the dog goes, "Roof." And the bartender goes, "He just barked. That's all he did. He barked."
Right.
No, he said
Right.
roof, but he barked. Okay. Okay. Who was the greatest ball player of all time? And the dog goes, "Ruth. Ruth." And with that, the bartender says, "I've had it with both of you." And he picks them up and throws both of them out into the street. And as they're sitting out there, the guy goes, "Why didn't you start talking?" And he said, "What? It was DiMaggio?"
Yeah, I've heard that joke.
Now, there's another dog goes into a bar with his master joke.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah. Wait a minute, I can't remember the joke. I do remember it has something to do with the fact that he says to the bartender, "This dog can talk." Oh, that was it. This dog can talk. How does he give the dog $50? I can't remember the joke. Okay, that's how bad. That's the Gablin speaking. I cannot remember the joke.
Do you remember the punchline?
Punchline was, he gives him the $50. Oh, I know what it was. He talks to the. All right. So he says to the bartender, "This dog can talk." And the bartender says, "Sure." He says, "Your master says you can talk. Is that true?" He says, "It's absolutely true." He says, "It's amazing. Your dog can talk." He says, "Wow." He said, "Could you do me a favor?" He said, "I'll give you $50, the dog. And just go across the street to my nemesis, my competition across the street, and sit at the bar, and then order something. He'll have a heart attack." So the dog goes, "Okay, sure, I'll be happy to." So he grabs the put the $50 in his collar, because obviously he can't hold the $50.
Right.
And the guy and the bartender is now sitting there for like a half hour, and the dog hasn't come back yet. Oh, I know it. He wanted him to go across the street to the other bar, order a drink, and say, "This is the worst drink I've ever had." Okay, and then come back, and for that he's getting $50, right?
Right.
So the dog has the $50 in his collar. So now they're sitting there, and the dog hasn't come back for a half hour, and they go, "Where's the goddamn dog? He should have already told the guy it was a lousy drink, and they didn't like the bar, and whatever, and come
Right.
back." So the guy, the owner, the master, goes out to the street, and in the middle of the street, he sees his dog fucking another dog. And he goes up to his dog and he says, "Stop it. Why are you doing this?" And he said, "I never had $50 before." Something like that. I slaughtered the joke because I couldn't remember every nuance of it.
Right.
And then there are the long jokes. The ones that go on forever.
Right.
The ones that, like my friend Penn Jillette, become kind of an opera that you sing.
Right.
The classic joke of all of them is, of course, the aristocrats. in which you can take that joke and just tell it in 2 seconds, right?
Right.
My wife does this, my wife does that. Then, punchline, we call ourselves the aristocrats. I think most people are watching us know the joke by now because there was a whole movie about it.
Right.
But that joke you can turn into an opera. You can go on for a half hour with that joke.
Oh, yeah.
You can turn it into a tour de force, and there's some people like Gilbert Gottfried, the late Gilbert Gottfried, who did it to a T. Just a wonderful recitation of that joke. But there's another.
He did it at a roast.
Yes. But the other joke that is to me a better joke than the aristocrats is what we call the bear joke. And Penn Jillette used to tell me the bear joke.
What's the bear joke?
You got time?
Yeah, I got time.
Guy goes into the forest, gonna go shooting, and he sees a bear. So he picks up his shotgun, points it directly at the bear, fires, and misses. Bear turns around. Big, huge, giant bear. Walks over to him and says, grabs the shotgun and says, "What do you think you're doing? You almost killed me." And the guy says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it. It's terrible. I can't." He says, "I'm not going to hurt you, but I do want you not to go away knowing the error of your ways." And he turns the guy around, pulls his pants down, and with his big, greasy bear dick, just rallies him in the ass. Just does it to a T, right? And the guy is now lying on the floor, his ass is bleeding a little, and the bear says, "Now don't ever do that again," and throws the shotgun down on the ground. And he turns around and walks away, and the guy is thinking to himself, I don't think I could miss a second time. So he brings himself up to his feet. He's feeling a little weak from this bear dick, okay?
Right.
And he grabs a shotgun and he aims it at the bear and misses again. Bear turns around, comes over, said, "What the hell do you think you're doing?" He says, I'm sorry, I'll never do it again. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it." He says, "That's fine." He grabs the shotgun. He says, "You know the drill. Turn around." The guy turns around and he gives him a giant rendering. What's the word? Rendering? I don't know. Of his bear dick. Big,
Right.
Greasy, smelly bear dick in his ass. Now his ass is bleeding like crazy, and the bear says, just for good measure, and he sticks this greasy bear dick that has already come in the guy's mouth.
Oh, God.
Okay? And then he's like shoving it as far as he can, and the guy's tonsils is flaring, and finally the bear says, "Okay, I'm through." He says, throws the shotgun on the ground, says, "Never do that again." The guy says, "I promise I never will." And the bear turns around and starts to walk away. And the guy is thinking for a moment, and he goes, I don't think I can miss again. I just don't think I can miss again. So he stands up, he's really weak now, but he stands up and he's got a clear shot at this bear, and he pulls the trigger. Guess what?
Amen.
Misses again. Bear turns around. Now he's really mad. And he comes over and he grabs that shotgun, throws it on the ground, says, "What did I tell you? You keep trying this and you keep doing this and you've never learned your lesson. So turn around." And now he just rages away with his big, greasy bear dick in this guy's ass. Okay? And they're pumping away. He's pumping away. And the guy is in great pain. And he's almost passing out from the pain. And now the bear turns him around. And now it's time for the mouth to do the same thing. He puts it in his mouth. And it's a greasy bear dick with all this bear cum on it. And blood from, from his rear end. And he again gets himself a major blowjob. And now he's through. And he says, "Now what did I tell you? Don't ever do it again. And by the way, I don't think you came here to hunt. And that's the end of the joke. I blew the punchline. But I shouldn't have actually had him have sex a third time. He should have just looked at him and said, I don't think you're coming here to hunt. Yeah. Now that's the bear joke. Now when Penn Jillette tells it goes on for a half hour.
Oh, is that right?
Oh yeah, he's describing every part of the bear's anatomy and the blood and the thing and everything. And I hope we don't get taken off for this, because this could demonetize me for this episode.
Right?
Telling that joke. But that is the bear joke, and we all consider the bear joke to be a better joke than the Aristocrats. And again, Penn turns it into an opera.
Right.
And it's a virtuoso piece. And the thing about the Aristocrats is you can do anything you want to with the joke. There are people who have different stories,
Right.
different backgrounds on it. So it's really good, that hey, that's what you can do. Do you know any jokes like that, or no?
No.
No.
I know a comics joke.
A comics joke.
Right.
Give me.
bunch of comics are sitting around, and one comic says, "Did you hear? Joe played Atlantic City. Standing room only, got standing ovations all weekend. They loved him so much they signed him to a month contract." And everybody goes, "No, we didn't hear. And the guy says, "Did you hear about Frank? Plays Atlantic City." No, he plays Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Las Vegas. Sold out every show, standing ovations. They loved him so much they gave him a gold watch. And he got booked there for a year straight. Did you hear? And then they all go, "No, we didn't hear." And then the guy says, "Now, did you hear about Tom? Played Dallas, bombed." And they all go, "We heard."
That's a very good joke. And
It's
as
a comics joke.
Yeah, and I mean, a comic would really laugh at that.
Right.
Okay, so and they should, because it's a funny joke. Yeah, but jokes are something like I know very few of them. I know the bear joke because I remember it. I know the Aristocrats because I remember it. But they're showpieces. Those jokes,
Right.
And by the way, the Aristocrats was a joke that comics told each other a lot.
Right. For a long time, the Aristocrats wasn't known to the public. It was only known to the comics.
By the way, folks, in case you've never heard the Aristocrats, go on to YouTube and put in Aristocrats, and you'll see 80 versions of the joke.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But
which really doesn't have a punchline.
No, it's what goes on before it.
Right.
It's his family, and then they have an act, and they say what they do, and it's a very dirty act, and the mother has the blah blah, and the father has the, and the daughter blah blah blah, and the daughter's doing it with the dog, and this can go on for years. I mean, Gilbert's version was about what, 15 minutes, 20 minutes long,
Something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And he and the punchline, of course, is, "That's amazing. What do you call yourselves?" "We call ourselves the Aristocrats." Now,
Right.
that is not funny. I mean, you probably didn't laugh when I told it that way because I didn't do the build-up.
Right.
You
Right.
know. So it's one of those jokes that, in the hands of a master, is just ambrosia.
Right.
You know. But it's not a joke you could tell folks out there if you're not used to telling jokes, because it's a performance joke.
Right.
That's the best way to put it.
It's a joke that leaves nothing to the imagination.
Yeah. Now you go to a guy like Bubbles. Is his act nothing but jokes?
Yeah.
Because they're one-liners. Well, they're not jokes. They're one-liners.
Right.
You know. I mean, Bubs. I watched a lot of Bubs lately, just for the hell of it, because you can find him on YouTube here
Right.
and there, and I can probably find you too. I haven't looked you up yet. Well, I know that you're up there because I one of my videos went up there, one of the shows that we did.
Right.
So, but Bubs does one-liners, and the joke that he's telling now is going to have nothing to do with the next joke. In other words, there's no continuity. It is. Have you ever noticed blah 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 is like the kind of thing a normal comic would do, and then he would go into many jokes related to that premise. Okay. Where Bubs are just one line at a time. My favorite being his opening line: "Somebody stole my identity. Now they have no life."
Right.
And Stephen.
All his jokes are built on his persona.
Exactly. And Stephen Wright.
Same thing.
Just one-liner after another.
Non sequiturs.
Yep. Jokes like, there's no bike rack. Why is there no bike rack at the children's hospital? Things like that.
Right.
And one-liners. And so, but they're not jokes. They're one-liners. And I don't know how to describe
A Stephen Wright joke is, I haven't called it because my phone has no nines. How long has that been going on? I don't know. My calendar has no sixes.
Again, a one-liner is distinguished from a joke in that a joke usually has some kind of story you're telling. Maybe
right, and the idea is to tell jokes on the way to the punchline.
If you do
when you tell a story, there should be funny moments within the story.
Yeah.
And the punchline should be the payoff.
But in normal terms, a joke basically is not a one-liner. A joke is something you're saying, like guy goes, two Jews walk into a bar and they buy it. Well, that's a one-liner, but it's a joke.
Right.
Because it has a story kind of thing. One-liners are like Bubs with his, now no one has a life. But you never did that in your act. Your act was what? How do you describe what you did?
I tell stories.
Yeah.
I tell stories. In fact, you didn't see me, but near the end I was sitting on a stool and telling stories.
Really? Why on a stool?
Because, well, the first reason I started sitting on a stool was I was too fucked up to stand.
Oh, Jesus.
And then as I got clean, I decided I liked being on a stool because also it brought me down to an audience level, and I wasn't so, what's the word? Like a big guy couldn't do what I do because it would be threatening. I guess when
so sitting is more intimate because you can look right down at them.
Right.
Yeah. So you kept the stool but lost the drugs.
That's right.
Oh, good. Was it, when you quit drugs, was there a period of time there where you couldn't go on stage?
No.
Oh, by the way, if you hear any kind of noise outside our apartment house, they're pointing the building, which is clear out the cement between the bricks and replace it with new cement. And they're doing that for every brick in this huge, giant apartment house.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it when you told me how big the apartment house was.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. But they're doing the courtyard. They did the outside. In the courtyard, you can hear from here. So if people are hearing a little bit of noise, can you hear it? Maybe you
I can't hear it.
Can't hear it. That's what it is. I'm just excusing it in case it's going out as audio here. But anyway, so how's just quickly before we go, how's working at Lowe's?
Different.
Different? Are you enjoying it?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. And,
I am.
Well, next time when we talk, I'll have to go into a longer discussion on what it is about Lowe's you are enjoying.
Okay.
Because quite frankly, I don't know if I could handle it. Although I could probably handle it because you are dealing with people every day.
Right.
It's not like these guys here are just taking a drill or whatever they do, get rid of the cement between the things, between the bricks, and then they put new stuff in between the bricks.
Right.
They have to do this for the entire apartment, and they've been doing this for like 6 months.
Right.
I could
Hour
not
after
do
hour.
that. I could not do that without going crazy.
Right. Right.
Anyway, hey, good talking to you. We'll do this again next week, huh?
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Kravitz. Thank you, Steven.
Thank you, Alex.
This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network, now in its 8th year of talk like you've never heard it before.
And there goes Steve Kravitz, ladies and gentlemen. There he goes. There he goes. Bye, Steve. You'll see you next week. I'll tell you, I had I'm beginning to wonder whether I really should keep doing stuff anymore, because I've lost it. I've really lost it. I don't know what my problem is, but I keep screwing up. Okay, I keep forgetting stuff. I can't tell jokes correctly. I try to get some of those old jokes. I couldn't remember them. And then today I'm doing this interview with Steve, and then after we did that, we did another one, and I started it, and we're going, and all of a sudden, halfway through the interview, I realize it isn't recording. And originally I blamed myself, but then I went back, and somehow I did have about 3 minutes of the interview. So I don't, so these things, I just, yeah. But anyway. So how are you? How y'all doing to this fine evening here in the United States of America? Anyway, I thank Steve for being with us and for putting up with the fact that I interviewed him for 15 minutes and anyway, where are we? Oh yeah. I think it's time for us to go talk to our citizen panel. Not many of them. We just got 2 people here, but they're 2 good people. So we'll check out with them and see if, as time goes on, if more people care to join us. Fuck them. How y'all doing?
I'm doing great. I went to Lodi today, so I heard a couple more of the Alex Bennett shows.
Oh,
This
is a guy who, what's his name?
Mike Aiello.
Mike Aiello, who seems to have stolen all my old shows and is putting them up on YouTube.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how I feel about that. I own that material.
I'm doing great.
So it's kind of like stealing from me.
I know, but I like it because I can hear the show.
I'll tell you.
So Supper with, go ahead. Supper with Schwartzman.
Uh-huh.
You had with Greg Proops and all those guys, and then they roasted you, and then they had the couple that I heard coming back home. There's actually one with Ruben when he called from the John Bull across the street when you were doing the movies critics with Michael Snyder.
Yeah.
And he joked from some guy over there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of memories start clicking. The stuff you used to say, and then the some of your bits and stuff. It's really, really fun to listen to. So.
Well, that's nice. It's nice that somebody's stealing from me and you can enjoy it. If you really want me to, I can send you those things.
I would love to.
I can send you shows, or I could. What I should do? I should take all that guy's stuff, some of which I may not have, or if I do have it, it's very hard to find in the thousands of tapes that I have in the other room.
Mm-hmm.
And I should record them off of his. And then repost them under my name.
Yes, I agree.
And I can strip them of his stuff and everything.
Oh wow, the sun's setting really nice. Hey, I've had that happen with my cars. My cars, when I started building one that was getting really big.
Let's talk about his cars for a second. Let's tell people that you are a big car guy.
Yes. So my friend said you're like his car. They start getting personalities of their own, and they start popping up.
Mm-hmm.
So it started popping up. In one car show, they used that for the advertisement for the show. That's happened a few times. And then I've gone and called him and say, hey, hey, can I get in the show for free since you're using my car as the likeness for your show? And so I mean, I felt the same way. People have painted my car and done photography and putting it on like the aluminum, fused it on aluminum and sold it, and I have mixed feelings too. It's out in the public, so it's fine for everybody, but
Yeah, but I do this for a living. Okay, I've done this for a living over the years, and I've also insanely protected my material, because I want to be the guy to use it.
Right.
It's mine. I own it. That was one of the deals I made with Live 105 as an example, is that after the shows were broadcast, they were mine. They had the right to rerun them if I went away on vacation or something like that, but basically I owned them. And so I don't like the idea, of somebody just capriciously stealing my work. He could, if he had stolen it, if he wanted to use it and then asked me first if he could, I probably would have said, fine, go ahead,
Yeah.
But the fact that I'm not even asked and it's stolen from me, that I don't like,
Yeah, and I'm sort of surprised that to post your stuff is like sort of out of the norm. If he was a fan, I'm sure, why didn't he contact you? Yeah, it's sort of weird.
Yeah, I mean, if he at least asked, hey, Alex, do you mind? I have all these tapes of you that I have, I've saved from the past.
Big fan.
And a big fan. I'd love to put them up. Do you mind? And I'd probably go, sure, go right ahead, do it. But since he hasn't, I mean, I'd go get an attorney and sue him, but why? It's not going to be worth the money.
Yeah.
So what the hell? Yes.
I think people have different attitudes about cars and about hearing you on your show over the years.
Yeah.
I know one person who used to, as he was younger, would always, whatever was on the phone that evening, he would make a record of it. Guess what he is now? He's an attorney.
Yes, Alan.
Sorry, I wanted to let Jeff go. You know how I like to tell jokes, and most of them you don't laugh at. So one of your listeners, who's a good friend of Phil, sends me a joke, and I didn't get it. And it says, who's the most important guy at a Mexican wedding? And I said, who? He said, the guy with jumper cables. I said, that makes no sense.
Well, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Is that racist, or is it just a bad joke?
It's a bad joke.
Oh.
I think. He's listening to the show right now, and I wanted to prove to him that this was not funny.
Wait a minute. Who is it? Somebody we know?
We'll use his first name, Paul. He's a regular listener.
Oh, Paul. Okay.
Good friend of Phil's.
A good friend of Phil's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Doesn't count then.
That's right. Thanks, Jeff.
You're off the hook.
Yeah.
Even though you guys don't laugh at some of my jokes, I don't tell jokes unless I find them funny, and not everybody's going to find them funny.
Well, like I was saying with
this was just stupid.
Steve Kravitz, I hate jokes basically, because they're things that people tell badly.
But you hosted so many comedians over the years.
No, but comedians don't tell jokes; they do routines.
Yeah.
The closest we come to a guy doing jokes is Larry Bubbles Brown, who was a bunch of one-liners. But
he's good. I never knew who he was, but I listened to him.
Yeah, but he does routines, and routines are different from jokes.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I love, he tells the story. He says, I'm having a horrible day. I get pulled over by the highway patrol, and the highway patrolman asks me, do you know why you were pulled over? And he says, because I'm black. And then there's a laughter, and then he waits and he says, damn, those nightsticks hurt. And I found that hilarious.
Was that Bubbles?
Yeah, Bubbles. They just in one of his YouTube things.
Oh yeah. Well, he's a very funny guy, but he's the closest it comes to telling jokes because he does one-liners. But those are one-liners. There's a difference between that and a joke. Hey, did you hear the joke about the lady who goes in the bar and that kind of thing?
Okay.
And then they tell them very badly, just like I did tonight with Kravitz, because I couldn't remember the jokes to save my life. because
miss
my
Porter.
brain is going, folks.
It's turning to
You
mush.
Huh?
You've got to be doing those kind of jokes several times to because the timing is such the issue.
Well, the thing is that
Absolutely.
I had a hard time remembering them because they don't
course.
stick with me. Jokes don't stick with me, but I do remember the dog joke, which I really slaughtered the second one, but the dog goes over to the other bar. And he doesn't come back, and then the guy runs out, and in the middle of the street he sees the dog having sex with another dog, and he says, "Hey, I never saw you do that." And he said, "I never had $50 before." That's the way the punchline's supposed to go. So I screwed that one up. But most people, when they have a joke, I got a great joke to tell you, and then their timing is off, and they're terrible at telling the joke, and it's horrible. So anybody got a good joke here? No, forget it. I don't want that.
I'm having a bad day. I went to a bar to have a cocktail, and the bartender says to me, "What would you like?" And I said, "Surprise me." He shows me a picture of him and my girlfriend in bed together.
And that happened.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Well, okay.
That's what
I try not to
mean.
tell jokes on the show. It's a Rodney Dangerfield joke I heard the other night.
Nah, now you're stealing from him. Great.
Yep, that's right. He's dead, though. Alex is still alive.
Well, there's the old joke about the guy goes to his doctor, he gets a full checkup, and finally the doctor says, "I got good news, I got bad news." He says, "Well, what's the bad news?" He says, "Well, you've only got 6 months to live." He says, "What's the good news?" He says, "See my nurse? I'm fucking her."
All right. I'm glad, Jeff, you can explain that one to me later.
I like that.
Yeah. Kevin, you got any good jokes?
Yeah, I don't. I can't remember them for being.
That's me too. I can't remember jokes.
No, and then I try and bring them back up, and they get destroyed.
Yeah. I'll tell you the joke that it's the hardest one for me to tell because it demands a certain amount of inflection. You'll see what I mean. Let me see here. Guy. Guy has he's a pharmacist. He runs a drugstore, and a guy comes in and says, "Wait a minute! I can't even remember the joke." Wait a minute.
Already lost.
Yeah, I've already lost. Yeah. No, he says I forget it. Oh, I know what it. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Oh yeah. He comes in, and he says, "I want 5 tubes of KY jelly," and the guy gives him 5 jars of KY jelly, and the guy leaves, and comes back about 20 minutes later. He says, "Can I have another 6 jars of KY jelly?" Pharmacist goes, "Sure, fine, here." The guy leaves, comes back about an hour later. He says, "I want to buy 20 jars of KY jelly." The guy says, "What are you doing with this stuff? Eating it?" He says, "No, I'm shoving it up my ass." Now, you see, I had to get the timing right on that. It's, "What are you doing? Are you eating this stuff?" And he went, "No, I'm shoving it up my ass." See, sarcastically. See,
Sarcastic,
forget it.
Bubbles tells another joke, and he says, the doctor says, he says, "How's your sex life?" And he says, "I'm horrible." He says, "So I could give you a couple blue pills, and it would really make you think." And he says, "Well, give the pills to me, damn it." He says, "The only problem I have with that is, God, I'm going to wear my hand out." The way Bubbles tells it, it's
Yes,
funny.
I'm sure.
I was raised by Alex Bennett, so I have a very high, I
Go
think
ahead.
comedy.
High what?
I've heard all of the best comics growing up in the '90s, so it's very hard to get me to laugh.
Yeah.
So Kravitz, is he a comic? No.
Yes.
I can't find anything on him on YouTube.
Oh, it's there.
Is it? Okay.
How are you spelling it?
The way you got it spelled with a K.
Mm-hmm.
Kravitz.
He's there.
I'll look harder.
Mhm.
I mean, I never heard of Larry Bubbles Brown. I didn't follow you that closely, I guess. But But when I watch his stuff's funny. He was on Letterman. It was funny as hell.
He was on Letterman twice.
Well, I only saw one on YouTube
Yeah.
last week.
Yeah.
But I'm like, wow, this guy's really funny.
By the way, I talked to Will Durst yesterday. And
Will Durst was on one of the shows I listened to this morning.
really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I'll send you the date. I mean, he was.
Oh,
he
you mean
was
on
very-
one of my shows?
Yeah, on one of the old shows from 1991 or something like that.
Yeah.
And this is when you just came back. You went to wherever, Houston or Florida or Miami, right? And then
Yeah.
you came back to Live 105.
Yeah.
This is right when you came back. So you had a lot of smart ass jokes about coming back and stuff.
Miami.
But Will Durst was on it. He was really funny. You
Oh.
guys were talking to Larry King on the phone, a phone interview.
Oh, really? Well, I actually have we ran an interview here that was actually videotaped of me doing Larry King at the Marriott Hotel.
Yeah, I
And one of the
remember that one.
breakfast-
That's
with
all
Bennett.
over YouTube. You got a couple comedians with you, and you're standing there putting on at
Kevin
the
Meaney.
Marriott.
Well, it's Kevin
Larry King was
Kevin
there.
Meaney's
Yeah.
there. Yeah. Well, I didn't
Yes,
do
yes.
the videotape. That belongs to a guy. I'm trying to remember his name now, who does a lot of videotaping of radio shows over the years.
Oh.
And,
It's one of the first things that pops up on my YouTube when I type your name in.
Man,
Really?
He's posted it before.
Yep, I've seen it several times.
Mm.
You're there talking about a producer that you ran into in the crowd and you didn't know who you were, and he had
Alex-
fired you and stuff like that. And is that
We
the
know.
same one? Yeah. So
Alex posted it one time. So
yeah.
well, we did. I played it here on the show. Yeah.
Anyhow,
Yeah.
it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
You want to get your royalties.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yes,
I do.
yes, Jeff.
Yeah. Alex, so when you moved to New York, whatever time it was, did you go to some of the shows in New York to watch some of the shows there that were comedian?
Did I go to?
Oh.
Well, when I first lived here, really wasn't doing comedy stuff. You know, on the
Okay.
radio, I was doing music people and political radicals, like
Okay,
Gabby
different world.
Hoffman and Jerry Rubin and Dave Dellinger and people like that. And so that wasn't my shtick. When I went to San Francisco, I picked up on doing comics, and I love comics and I love comedy, and it kind of naturally happened, you know. I had a guy. I had Bobby Slayton on, and he I said, "Gee, this is fun having a comedian on. Do you have any other comedians that'd like to be on?" And before I knew it, I was up to my ass in comics. And it just
He's
kind of
funny.
naturally happened. It wasn't, you know, and just like in New York, doing the politics and doing the musicians, when I first started doing musical acts on the radio in New York City, nobody else was doing it. I know you find that hard to believe because today, all the time, you're hearing, you know, rock people being interviewed. But in those days, nobody wanted to interview any rock musicians, and I did. And I started having one after another. And I think the first one I ever had on, if I remember correctly, was Melanie. Remember Melanie? I got a pair of something or another. I don't know.
I got a pair of roller skates.
There.
Oh,
it is.
okay. Now I remember
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
The song.
And you know, before I knew it, I got Elton John coming in when he was nothing, you know, and I had all the Grateful Dead were on, and so I became known as the guy who had musicians on and was the radio radical, okay, because I had people on like Abby Hoffman and so forth, and so I really didn't follow comedy that much back then. I mean, I cared about it, but I didn't, you know, I didn't go to the clubs or anything like that. You know. Plus, you know, I mean, comedy was in a different way back then. It wasn't like you had these clubs where people went and worked out and so on. They were usually what they were supper clubs where people had a comedy act come in for a week, you know, and it was somebody like
Not in L.A.
it's somebody like Phyllis Diller, it might be Lenny Bruce, or it might be Mort Saul, but it wasn't like new up-and-coming young rising comics, you know.
You know, in the 80s, a bunch of us would go from work, take a few days off, and go to Los Angeles, and there was all kinds of stand-up comedy clubs there in Los Angeles.
Well, that started to happen God, it happened later than when I was in New York the first time.
No.
Because
Okay.
in L.A. you started having things like, you know, the Mitzi Shore's place. Oh,
I
God.
can't think of the name of the
Comedy Store.
Comedy Store.
Right, Comedy Store.
And you had the Comedy Store. You had the Improv.
The Improv, right?
But that was the Improv West, because it started as the Improv in New York, and then Friedman. Trying to remember Friedman's first name now. No, Friedman had to give his wife the club when they got divorced, so he moved out to the West Coast and started the Improv in
In LA?
I think on Santa Monica Boulevard, if
Mhm.
I'm not
So.
mistaken. And then the way that he really became well known was the fact that they did a night at the Improv. Bud Friedman. They did the night at the Improv, and they would have him and a bunch of comics come on, do their acts at the Improv. So they got enough of these in the can that finally they were running it 5 nights a week.
Mhm.
And then they got so many more in the can, they were running them 5 nights a week, 2 episodes a night. And that was in the early days of A&E. And I used to joke that the 2 most predominant people on A&E were Bud Friedman and Adolf Hitler. Because they ran all these documentaries about Nazis. You remember that in those days? That's all the 2 things you would see on there. Bud Friedman followed by Adolf Hitler. And it was very hard to tell the difference between the 2, you know.
Now, I remember going to New York the first times in the shows, in the city, in the villages more than any place. And there were all these people that were well known on TV, but on these shows, they were the dirtiest, different type of.
You're not talking about
shows.
people like Andrew Dice Clay.
Yeah, he could have been on that, sure.
Yeah,
But
I
he's
saw him
kind of
on-
a
Well, I'll tell you,
younger.
if you wanted pure dirty, if you wanted pure filthy, there was nothing like going to a Friars Club roast. Before they put them on TV, when they started putting them on TV, they cleaned them up.
Yeah.
But boy, before that, I mean, I many times I would go down with my friend Steve when he was still alive, and he belonged to the Friars Club, and we'd go down and watch something with a bunch of comics doing a tribute to another comic who was there. It wasn't a roast, and they were the filthiest evenings I ever spent in comedy in my life. But I mean, they were funny. They were just funny. So, yeah, that's the way it goes. So anyway, I'm tired once again tonight. I'm trying to stay awake. You know, I don't know what it is, but I have. They say I have this positional vertigo, and that's the reason why I'm dizzy all the time. And then they have these exercises I'm supposed to do to get rid of it. Because what there is you get there's a crystal in your ear canal, okay, and the crystal shifts and gets in the middle of your ear canal, your root canal, the middle of your ear canal, and you're like this, right? So what you're supposed to do is do these exercises to force the crystal back into the top of your ear canal where it's supposed to be.
Well, it gets stuck in the gestation tube, I think.
What you have to do is you have to lie down, and then you have to lean your head back over a pillow, and then you have to turn your head one way, and then you get really dizzy, okay, and hold it for about 30 seconds, then turn it 45 degrees the other way, okay, and then you have to sit up. And after a while, they say if you do this for like 2 weeks, it'll go away. There's another one where you lean over the back of the bed and things like that. But what they're trying to do is you're trying to get this crystal. I mean, I wish they were valuable and I could just have them removed.
Right, or you could sit there with your crystal pipe.
What
and
I don't
smoke.
understand is why they can't remove them. Or do I need those crystals there?
I think they're I don't know a lot about them, but I think they're an abnormal growth that's pretty harmless in most people. And why go in and do surgery?
It's not a growth. It's not. I don't think it's a growth. I think it is an actual
Oh.
part of the ear system.
Okay.
But anyway, so I've been trying to get him back, and I don't know if I'm doing I didn't do the exercises today, but I don't know if I'm doing them right. So I may go to a physical therapist and get them to teach me how to do it. You know.
It's interesting last night that Phil didn't try and tell you that your neurologist was wrong when you brought it up last week, and that it was horizontal gaze nystagmus, which he couldn't even pronounce. You know, he didn't bring. You brought it up last night that you had the thing going on still. That was
Supposedly,
vertigo.
when he had me look over here at head straight forward, then look over here, that my eye quivered. You know, and that
Well,
that to
that
him
is-
showed him that I had a positional vertigo.
Right. There you go.
Mhm.
It's also if people get high on drugs. I mean, Phil was partly right. High on drugs or alcohol. If you follow the finger, the reason why the police do it when you come over to the corner here, your eye bounces a little bit, and it usually you can tell if somebody's under the influence.
But how
of
do you know
alcohol.
they don't have positional vertigo?
I guess you don't.
Yeah.
But
See?
you can usually smell the alcohol beverage on their breath, and it's part of the field sobriety test
Yeah.
thing.
So anyway, so I that was my whole thing with thing. So.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that if you were going outside like you used to go walking and so forth, I think they will help you.
No,
But it didn't?
I'm just as dizzy as when I go out. Yeah.
Yeah. And get this therapy.
And now my legs are getting a little weak. Speaking of weak legs, Jack
Oh,
is in the hospital again. I talked to him today. He's in good spirits and so on, but he fell 3 times within a 24-hour period, and they finally said, "Come to the hospital." They always say, "Come to the hospital." They want to make money off the hospital.
I guess Amy went and saw him today, and she told me that they still don't know what's wrong with him, and they want him to transition to being in a wheelchair. He's fighting that, and they're going to send him to a rehab center.
Well, I suggested against that, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because over the last year and a half or so, I've been talking to Will in
In the
ca-
hospital.
care facility is what
Right,
they are.
right. Yep.
He doesn't get any better. There are a few things they have managed to clear up through surgery, but he's not getting any better. And I just said to him one day, I said, just say, "Fuck you, I'm going home." I said, you're going to do better by being at home and being in familiar surroundings, where somehow you have to do some things, that might just improve your situation, but they're not going to get any better with you lying there in this, long-term care facility.
It also may give him some motivation being home and familiar surroundings.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But you got all these doctors that go, no, they told Jack, oh no, well, we don't know if we want you to go home because you might fall again.
Yeah.
Well, so far he hasn't hurt himself, and I told him he should use a wheelchair. If they say use a real wheelchair, use it, but do all you can to do some kind of physical therapy. And so far as nursing and so on, you can get a visiting nurse to come in, and it's probably covered by your insurance, and that would help that a great deal.
And give them some different
Yeah.
physical therapy.
Yeah, but I mean, I felt really bad because I like having a show on after mine.
Yeah. Right.
I was going to do something tonight, and maybe go over to Skype and do his show after this one, but I'm too tired to do it. So if anybody wants to host a show after this one, I can just turn it on. You can come to it and then sit there and talk with people, but I got other crap to do, So I just tried to figure out a way to, what we're going to do while he's gone. But I just, I worry about him, and it's I think you know, let's face it. Where does he live? What town does he live in?
Texas.
Denton,
Denton?
I think.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of good medical facilities in Denton, Texas.
Yes.
You know, when you want to take care of a real bad problem, first place I think of heading is Denton, Texas.
Yeah, right.
Betcha.
You know, huh? What'd you say?
Betcha.
Yeah, it's best long-term care facilities in the country.
Well, when COVID was going nuts with Omicron, they took him to a hospital 50 miles away. That was the closest care center.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, if he lived here in New York, he'd get the best care possible. I mean, you know, I thank God that I got prostate cancer in New York City
Sure.
because it saved my life. You know, I mean, do you think that where's the yokel town now he's in? What's it called? Is it Denton,
it's
Texas?
north of Dallas, Fort Worth, I think.
Yeah, Denton, Texas. If I got prostate cancer in Denton, Texas, I don't know if they've got all the radioactive machines and the seeds and the you know, world class experts. The guy who did the seeds on me is world class. I mean,
Well, I think one of the top prostate cancer facilities, medical centers, is Sloan Kettering, and I think that's in New York, isn't it?
Yep, absolutely.
Yep. It's like one of the top in the world, from what I've heard.
Well, the guy who did me was the guy who actually did 20 years ago did Rudy Giuliani and put the seeds in
And
him.
he's still alive.
He's still alive. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, the guy is world class. I wouldn't have got that doctor even if I was in San Francisco. I might have had somebody who was good, but not that kind of world class. You know, and of course, the funny part about it is here was the thing that always worried me. After it was over with, like he did the radiation on me, and then he put the seeds in me. There were two separate things that he did. Okay, so that now nothing works down there, but it doesn't matter. I'm gonna live. Okay. But he did all this, and so after it was all over, they said, "Come on down," and you know, after 3 months or 6 months, we want to have a checkup on you to make sure everything was just right, so on, blah 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 blah. And I do that, and then I never hear from them again. So I got a hold of my urologist who sent me to him, and I said, "I never hear from these people." In fact, I wrote him a note. I asked him something. I never got a reply. And my doctor said, "That's the way it is. These guys do what they got to do, and then they don't care about you any longer. They're on to the next problem."
Yeah.
Okay? He said, "Look, you need a PSA test. You need somebody to take care of you." He says, "I'm your primary urologist. Just come see me, and screw them. They aren't going to do anything to you unless they now see money coming down the roads towards them again, you know." So it was a wake-up call for me, because I never had anything like that where I felt, who's going to do the follow-up? Well, it must be this guy who put the seeds in. No, the follow-up is really done by my urologist, who is, again, in my estimation, a world-class urologist, because he's just a really good urologist. He has a way with his finger that nobody else has, you know? It's tender, but at the same time, it's erotic. What?
Said I'll take your word for it. I've had chronic prostatitis most of my life, and so I've had a lot of urologists over the years, and every one of them says, "Oh, let's check your prostate," and I'm like, God, everybody fucking shoves their whole fist up there. It's, oh, it just feels that way.
No, I think I've told this story before on the air, but I had a doctor here in New York years ago, and every time I would go to him, like, whatever was wrong, he said, "Okay, bend over," and then he would stick his finger up my ass.
Right.
And I'd leave, and then I go back the next time. Now I've got I don't know, a sore throat or whatever, and I say, I've got a sore throat, and he'd say, "Okay, bend over," and he'd stick his finger up my ass again.
Jesus.
And every time I would go to him, no matter what it was for, I've got a wart. Okay, bend over. And finally, one day I said, every time I come in here, you stick your finger up my ass. Why is that? He says, "You like it, don't you?"
Oh, wow.
I said,
He
no.
He
What?
kept coming back.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, he was the only doctor I knew, and every time I got, my hypochondriac, so I was always wanting to see a doctor for one thing or another,
Yeah.
It's part of being Jewish.
They had another guy, I remember this was really funny. I had a friend, Bruce David, who I used to do Midnight Blue with, and then later on, he was my editor at Hustler magazine. But back in the day, he was in New York with me. He worked at Screw magazine, and I said, I've got something wrong, blah 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 blah. And the guy said, have you been to the $5 doctor? I said, the $5 doctor? They said, yeah. No matter what you have, $5, right? I can't believe this. So I go to this. It was right here in town, and I go to the doctor, and there's like 20 people in his waiting room, all waiting to see the $5 doctor. And after about 10 minutes, I was the first person in line. They were going through so fast, right? And the guy comes in, and I go in. I said, "What's the problem?" And I said, "I've got this problem. I think I maybe have NSU or something like that, which is a
Non-specific urethritis.
non-specific urethritis." And he goes, "Let me take a look." He said, "Yeah, well, here, take these pills. $5, please." Now, I go home, I take the pills, and it doesn't cure the problem.
Of course not.
So I went back to him, and he said, "Oh, didn't solve the problem, huh? Well, here, go home and take 2 aspirin every couple hours." I said, "That should take care of it. $5, please." About $25-$30 later, and this is back in the 70s, okay? He still hasn't cured the goddamn thing. And by the way, as I'm walking into his office, there are another 20 people in his waiting room, and the same 20 people that were there when I went the first time.
They all got a $5 bill.
Yeah,
in their
I
hand.
learned you never go to the $5 doctor.
There's a dim sum place in Vietnam Town, downtown San Jose.
Yeah.
And they have dim sum, and underneath there's there's a door there, and these people, my Vietnamese friends go there. There's a Chinese guy, and my friend will come out, and a couple of girls, and they have a box of something, some pills, and they take them, and this guy keeps, but he fixes them.
It's
Wow.
funny.
I don't know what
I
the-
heard
it's
today.
all Chinese. You don't know what it is.
Yeah.
You don't know what's in it or anything. He says, take it.
I heard today on the news that Joe Biden talked with the premier of China today, and they got into a discussion about Taiwan. And the premier of China, which is Xi, I believe is his name,
Right.
he said to him something about don't meddle in things that you shouldn't because it may come back to haunt you.
Absolutely.
And I went, or something to that extent. And I looked at Marjorie and I went, I think he got that out of a Chinese fortune cookie.
Xi Jinping, isn't that his name?
Xi Jinping, yeah, but Xi
Yeah,
is his last name.
Right. But
Yeah.
he's the president, not
People
a,
don't
not-
realize when Chinese names, it's something Wong. The first name is actually the family name, and Wong is the first name, or what we would refer to as the first name here.
Maybe that's why there's so many Wongs.
Yeah. What's the old line about they're more? Oh, forget it. I can't even remember the joke. I can't remember jokes anymore. Forget it.
It was what's her name? Oh man.
Hmm?
She said more. I don't want to say any jokes.
Okay, don't say any jokes.
Jeff, it's your turn. Tell a joke.
No, I'm not a joke teller.
No. Plus, his timing is shot.
Yeah, absolutely.
That can't be any worse than mine. Come
So-
on, Kevin.
so-
Man,
Kevin,
this whole
Kevin, how's everything in your neck of the woods?
Pretty much same old, same old.
Same old, same old?
Yeah. Pretty much.
Okay,
We're
everybody.
we're trying to adopt a cat
Why are you adopting a cat?
because the kids first they wanted a dog, and I said heck no. So Adrian keeps saying she wants a puppy real bad, and then we started talking about cats, and I've had a cat before. Cats are a lot easier to take care of, so We're trying to adopt this one. Right
Oh,
here.
that's adorable.
Put some cat food out, and it'll adopt you.
No, there's another cat store comes around, but this one is actually we met it today on a voice Zoom call. But
that is.
It has like gray eyes. Mm-hmm. It's a Siamese, and it's a.
Let me see. Let me see it. Let me see it again.
No, it's a blend of Siamese and something, but it's also a Hemingway polydactyl.
Polydactyl?
Yeah.
What the hell does that mean?
See the feet? They have more paws on them than the normal.
Oh, the 6-paw cats?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know anything about it.
Well, not 6-paw, but the 6.
Pads.
Six pads on the paw.
I googled everything on there. I learned a lot about that type of cat.
That's adorable.
I used to have a cat before.
Yeah, there's a good reason to have a cat instead of a dog.
Yes.
You don't have to walk a cat.
Exactly.
You know, you fill a box with litter and they will go in it eventually. You know.
Well, the good thing at your place, Alex, is you could open the window where they're doing the cement replacement thing, and the cat will go out and take a dump out there.
Well, you see, the thing is, I don't want to have there are 2 reasons I don't want a cat. Okay, at this point, I love cats, but there are 2 reasons why. Reason number 1 is that I don't want a cat in this apartment because I would always have to keep the windows shut. Because anytime they would decide they want to go climb on the windowsill or out on the ledge,
it's a long fall.
It's a long fall, and they probably wouldn't jump, but I'm telling you, I would be panicking. I would just be apoplectic, and I can't tell you how apoplectic I would be. And so I don't want it for that reason. And the other reason is I don't want an animal that's going to look at me and say, I'm going to be here after you're gone.
You're right about that, because the dog Coco
who the hell
outlived
let
my
him in?
What?
Coco and Pebbles outlived my mother, but at least she got to meet them, though. It's funny that you said that. I was in bed listening to the doctor story. How many times were you going to that doctor for $5? I was like, this guy's got some business.
Well, I mean, yeah, I saw how he made his money.
Yeah,
he never
like,
cured anybody, so they kept coming back.
And non-specific urethritis means they don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Probably the first time they gave you an antibiotic. The second time they thought, it might be prostatitis. Go take Motrin for a week. You know what I mean?
Okay, I'll tell you the best story, though.
Guessing game.
I'll tell you the best story about being at a doctor, okay? And me wanting to be cheap, okay? So I come down with gonorrhea.
Oh, God.
Usually you always got gonorrhea on a weekend. There's no hospitals open and stuff.
Oh.
So, it was a Monday, and I decided I really didn't want to pay a doctor, but I would go down to the health department, and I would go there, and they would look at it, and then they would do what they had to do to cure it for me. So I decided to go to the health department down on 9th Avenue here. And I go in, and I sit there. First of all, I sit in the waiting room. And they've got pictures of foreign places, all of which you could probably get gonorrhea in,
Really?
like Japan and, Korea, and I look at the back of the chair. I'm sitting in a seat, and there's a back of the chair, and somebody has written on the chair, I swear to you, Bob was here and will be back. So now I go into the doctor's office, and the doctor says, "What's the problem?" And I said, "I think I have gonorrhea." And he said, "Okay, let me check you out." And he takes me into the examination room. And he says, "Could you do me a favor?" And I said, "What's that?" He said, "Look, we have a few students here from I think it was wherever, foreign country, Asian country, and they're looking at our procedures so that they can learn how to deal with this sort of thing and so on. Do you mind if they come in and watch?" I said, "Sure." He said, "Okay, send them in." And in walks 10 people, 10 Asian students. And then the doctor says, "Drop your pants."
Oh, God.
And I am sitting there getting examined in front of all these other students. Now, I felt kind of good afterwards because I felt I had done something for medicine. You know.
Yeah,
You know.
It's the biggest
imagine
part
they start
on
throwing money on the floor.
But having your pants down and having a guy stick a swab up your penis to take a culture,
Great.
huh?
You weren't like, I'm embarrassed with just one doctor. You did it for 10 people.
Hey, what can I say?
You know, if they were all Asians, they probably weren't used to seeing something that big on,
After that, I decided I was ready to do live sex shows on 42nd Street. I mean, if I could go that,
Broke the ceiling in the doctor.
I think part of my mindset was, please God, don't let me get an erection. Okay, But anyway.
Yeah.
So that was my big day with the doctors at the
Did he
clinic.
give you medicine, Alex? Or I guess, did you have gonorrhea? Or?
Oh, several times.
Oh, so.
Yeah. Alex was here and will be back.
I like that you had if you had an iPhone back then.
No, in those days, I don't know what it was, but there was a period of time in my life where I would get it on a fairly regular basis because I was having sex on a fairly regular basis. But then after a while, I mean, I was still having sex just as much, but I didn't get it anymore. And I think that there was it was just going around in that period of time. This was like back in the 60s and 70s, early 70s. Then I think that's where,
I think it was hanging out on 11th Avenue.
Yeah, right.
That's right.
It
There's a
is
sign
a
on
joke.
11th Avenue.
No, I
Bob.
can't say that after I left New York, I don't think I ever got it, to be honest with
Really?
you. Yeah.
Even sitting in Bill's car? Wow.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Here comes Ray. Is he walking down the street or is he just sitting somewhere and going to say, no, he's sitting somewhere. Hello,
Thank
Ray.
God.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm kind of peppy tonight, I think. Yeah. I'm not
Great.
it don't sound like I'm forgetting stuff tonight, do I?
Nope.
So I'm certainly remembering all these wonderful times I had at the health clinic, so that's good. So Tony, how many times have you had gonorrhea?
None, I could say. None.
You've got to have sex with another person in order to
I
get it.
think you go in there and says he's back again. I just treated you, Alex. He's back. All right, no more. I don't want an audience.
The only thing I am, you get old and suddenly you're not going to the urologist as much as you're going to the guy who takes care of your arthritis in your hand and gives you shots of
You got the shot in the hand, my brother.
Cortisone.
And I need another one soon, so those things hurt like a mother,
Yeah.
I mean, it's only it's a short pain, but it's
a big gauge needle because cortisone itself is very thick.
Really?
Oh yeah.
And
It's like those old needles that they used when you were a kid. They pull out, like if for strep throat or whatever, and they jab that sucker in your knee.
What, for strep throat?
No, like if you get cortisone in your, if you get cortisone in your knee,
Oh, Marjorie gets it in her knee all the time.
Yeah, that hurts like hell.
Yeah, she likes getting her cortisone shots. Listen, I have to admit, it does clear it up for a while,
Yeah.
but just a
Yeah,
while.
for like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, and then it comes back again.
Is this where are you going to get your cortisone? I mean, not where, but what part
I'm
of your
going to a
body?
$5 doctor.
Your wrist? Your wrist again?
Huh?
Carpal tunnel?
Yeah, right here. Right here.
He mine lasts for.
He told me this is the most common place that people get arthritis, right here.
Yeah, the carpal tunnel is right in there. So, okay.
Yeah, I think the Contra Costa tunnel is there too. Yeah, so
There you go.
that's just a joke for you people in the Bay Area, of which there's 1, 2, 3, 4 people here. They're all from the
Which
Bay
tunnel?
Area. Huh?
Robin Williams Tunnel?
No, that is the Robin Williams Tunnel in Marin now, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's official.
Yeah.
And they named one of the wings or one of the terminals in San Francisco SFO after Harvey Milk.
Well,
That's right.
Yeah. Let me see here. What are you looking at? Yeah. Oh, does
Robin
it say
Williams
that? Does
tunnel.
it say it?
Yeah.
It's not focusing though.
It's not focusing, but it says
Just went through it Sunday.
Time
Yeah.
for a new iPhone.
There it is.
there used to be another name for that tunnel. What was it? I used to call it. I used to know what it was.
The Rainbow Tunnel, wasn't it?
No, it was
Yeah.
called, some people called
Now,
it the River
before
Tunnel.
that, it was.
You know there was another name for it because
Yeah, I forgot.
I grew up calling
Not
it
what the
that.
name of it was.
Uh,
MacArthur is the other one, the General MacArthur. That's on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell was it?
No, I can't remember now.
I can't believe I can't remember that.
Yeah, I know. I used to go through it all the time, and I knew the name of the tunnel. But
Yeah, me
anyway,
too.
yeah. Do you know
The
the
Waldo Tunnel.
Waldo
That's
Tunnel?
it.
It was,
Waldo Tunnel.
The Rainbow Tunnel and Waldo
Yep.
Tunnel.
Now
The
it's just
internet is so good, isn't it?
now it's just the Robin. Now it's just the Robin Williams, right?
Yes.
That's
Yeah,
it.
just Robin Williams. It's great. I love they did that.
Yeah. That was
Yeah,
nice.
he
That was nice.
certainly deserved it.
Yeah. And let me see here. Oh, here's a good trivia question since you guys are in the Bay Area. What bridge has two names, a different name going in each direction?
In the Bay Area,
Yep.
let's see. You got the Carquinez Bridge,
We got a lot of bridges, by the way, in the Bay Area. We got the Golden
the
Gate,
Bay
we got
Bridge,
the Bay Bridge.
Golden Gate Bridge,
The
the Dumbarton
Bay
Bridge.
the Golden Gate,
San Rafael.
San Rafael.
San
Bridge.
Oh, San Rafael.
Richmond,
San Mateo. San Mateo.
San Rafael and San Rafael Richmond.
That's San Rafael Richmond Bridge,
Yeah.
but it has two different names in each direction.
Right. In
It's
Richmond,
called the
it's
San Rafael
Richmond.
Richmond Bridge, but that's not actually the name. They named it after some kind of state senator or something in one direction, and maybe it's
Really?
Richmond San Rafael in the other direction. Yeah.
I
Leo
thought it was
McCarthy?
Richmond, San Rafael in both
Yes, you're right.
Leo McCarthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that a few years ago. I
Now
think.
that's just going in one direction, though, right?
Yeah.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe
Now
that's why
coming back
bridge
the
is
other direction,
crumbling.
what is it? Richmond San Rafael?
I think so.
Yeah. And where does it terminate in Marin?
San Quentin.
San Quentin.
Yeah.
Yes, you got it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sir Francis Drake Boulevard.
Yep.
Yeah.
And who went to Sir Francis Drake High School?
Alec.
Real famous guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Watched that.
And I was there. I was in the gym. I was in the gym when you had your show from there.
Oh, I did. Really?
I was there. Yeah.
That was the show
remember.
that was a show where we were never invited back to my high school again.
Oh, really?
Because Monty Hoffman did the dirtiest act he could think of doing. And he could get away with.
I know you've mentioned before about Monty Hoffman that you didn't like him and didn't get along or something.
Monty
But
Hoffman
I
was.
really liked his humor. It was so funny. His character or his
That
persona
wasn't a
was-
character, though. That's the
It
problem.
was so funny.
That wasn't a character. He was one of the most difficult people I've ever known. Yeah.
And he looked like a bald sort of old. I don't know what they
Like a mafioso.
it was so funny for the audience at least. It was
Wait a minute, Brian. You sure you're not confusing the bald with Alex?
no. I remember. Oh no,
No, he's big.
no. He's
Big
And
fat
Monty
boy like
Hoffman,
me?
there's some old comedians that we were talking about jokes and stuff, but for me at a young age and seeing with Monty Hoffman and Warren Thomas and Tree and all these other comics, they're all the
you
big
check
guys
it
that
out?
were there. They're all the big guys that were there too, but all these other comics, man, to see those for like 10 years in the 90s, me nonstop.
Yeah.
I listen back to those, Alex, and I'm like, man, so thankful for those times because I start reflecting
And
back.
some
and
people,
it
some of them
with
have
the
done.
music.
Some of
With
them.
the music, it was good.
Some of them were just coming up at the time, and some of them become fairly big. Patton Oswalt's done very well, and Tom Kenny.
Yeah. Oh, Tom Ken and Carlos Alazraqui was
People
on
saying
the one
who's
that I
Tom?
did-
Anybody here know who Tom Kenny is?
A comedian
Yeah.
from San
What is
Francisco.
Bob?
Huh? Yeah, well, he's a comedian, obviously,
From San Francisco.
but he is the
Yeah,
voice
Tom-
of
SpongeBob.
SpongeBob
SpongeBob.
SquarePants
Yeah.
for the last 20 years or something. Think of how much
Yeah.
money he has made.
and will
What's
continue
his
to
first
make.
name?
And we'll continue to make it as long as kids
Tom
keep
Kenny.
pulling strings in the side of the toy.
Tom Kenny isn't he partly responsible for Caddyshack?
No,
No.
that was
Different
Kenny. What's his name? I knew him. I knew all the people over the National Lampoon. Oh God, what was his name? First name, last name Kenny. But he wrote he was in the National Lampoon's Animal House and wrote it as well.
I think he was the writer.
Landis, wasn't Landis in that too?
No, Landis directed it.
Directed,
He
yeah.
directed it. What was Kenny's first name? Oh God, see my mind. As soon as we're off the air, I'll remember. But no, Tom Kenny is the voice of SpongeBob SquarePants, and a nicer guy you wouldn't find anywhere. I'm so
At
happy.
that time, at that time that this one was played, something's going on. When that time that was being played, they had you were talking about Kevin Meaney's show, and then there were a couple other guys that were just getting sitcoms around that time too.
Right.
This is pretty cool to listen to from back then.
So in Caddyshack, it was Douglas Kenny.
Doug Kenny. Yeah.
I knew there was a Kenny.
Yeah, I
in
knew
there.
Doug. Doug did a very interesting show with me, which I could talk about someday. But we did a put on. Made people believe that there was a.
Wow, he's dead. He must have.
Well, yeah,
Caddyshack came out in
he fell
1980.
into a volcano.
Yeah, it says Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Some people think he committed suicide, but
Co-founder of National Lampoon in
That's right.
1970. Wow.
It was he, and the other guy who was the co-founder was oh God, my mind's trashed. Don't ask me to think about things I'm trying to remember, because I won't remember them. Huh?
Harold Ramis directed it.
Harold Ramis directed Caddyshack. No,
He did.
he? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. But anyway, those were the good old days in New York.
One of those channels did a good documentary of Caddyshack, all the behind the scenes.
Yeah, well,
party
there's a very
Oh yeah,
good.
it's on YouTube. It's
document.
like 50 minutes long. It's huge.
There's a 2-hour
hour.
documentary that's on Hulu.
Yeah, and they show actually some of the stuff before
Yeah.
the National Lampoon stuff.
I knew a lot of those guys. I knew Michael O'Donoghue, and
That was a funny movie.
yeah. But I was very close with them, and we did many a thing together. But
It was Rodney Dangerfield's first movie.
was it
Yeah.
really?
Yeah,
was he
kept
in that?
telling that he kept, adding jokes that weren't in there, and everybody is not laughing, and he's complaining to Harold Ramis, "I'm not funny, I'm not funny," and he says, "We can't laugh because it's being, filmed."
Oh.
But he says, "Believe me, everybody's laughing."
Okay, well, anyway, hey, there's the theme song. We got through another one tonight. We'll try and do
Sorry,
another one
Tony.
again
No
tomorrow.
politics. No politics, Tony. Sorry, nothing for you to talk about tonight.
Yeah. You don't have to talk about the guy's going to be indicted very soon. How are you going to feel when he gets indicted?
Happy days.
Oh boy! Thank you very much, Alan. Appreciate it, and thank you very much for joining us on our program, Brian. Jeff, good talking to you. Kevin,
great to see
always a pleasure just seeing your face there, because it reminds me of Christmas. And of course, Tony, thank you. And Ray, even though you were a little late tonight,
Yeah.
better late than never. Okay, everybody.
Calling from the bunker.
Yeah.
We'll
Give-
see you
Yeah,
on Jack's show.
Give a big wave goodbye, and I'm going to play a repeat tonight of Jack's show. And I will say goodnight to our panel. They're all getting rid of me before I can get rid of them. Anyway, thank you for joining us, panel. There's no Jack Bishop tonight. There is no intersection because he is in the hospital. But hopefully he will get well soon, and all will be... I'm going to sneeze at the end of the show. I'm thinking of sneezing. Anyway, I'll see you again tomorrow night, same time, same station in life. In the meantime, as always, if you see her, you know what to do. Tell her I love her, okay? Bye-bye, everybody.